as a tech or an ICT professional, you wouldn't be allowed to work in the Ghanaian tech space without the certification. And that's where important a lot of tech professionals that you have in the Ghanaian space because
It could go either of two ways where it produces better people who know how to do their jobs, but also it could force a lot of people, like Daniel said, to go into the international market. And then it's going to be a dogfight of who is going to be the cheapest labor. And
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Well, in today's podcast, we are going to talk about a topic that is coming up in the tech industry in Ghana, and that's with regards to the bill that has been drafted by NITA. NITA here stands for National Information Technology Agency, and what they plan to do is to pass a bill. They are sending a bill to Parliament where, with that bill, what happens is that anyone that's in the tech space, be it you being a software engineer, you being a web developer, you will need to take a certification with NITA before they will allow you to be able to work in the Ghanaian space. With this bill, I chanced on it in one of our tech WhatsApp groups where they asked that we take note of this. So I just believe that it's a topic that we need to dissect. The bill is yet to be passed, and with subsequent days, we will get to understand what the bill covers and what it doesn't cover. So with the NITA bill, we have a post from Quick Tech on X or Twitter, formerly Twitter. The NITA Bill 2025 says no one can be appointed as an ICT professional in a public or private institution without government certification. Mind you, it's not just government. Also, they're talking about the private institutions as well. And that is every developer, every engineer, every sysadmin, public and private. So you need to take note of that. What I would like to state a bit is that with engineers, we already have an institution called the GHI, that's the Ghana Institute of Engineers, right? And they have some form of certifications. So I'm just trying to understand. Probably, maybe that wouldn't be enough with time to come. We'll just need to wait to see how it goes concerning that. You know, NITA is just an agency, and so the bill is going to move it from an agency into an authority. And with the authority is going to have same acronym, all right? Same bigger mandates and then more powers. Now, the job is just to regulate the Ghana's tech sector and who can work in the tech sector, who is able to run businesses there, and then just what the standards have to be met. Yeah, so the post continues to say that with this bill happening, as a tech or an ICT professional, you wouldn't be allowed to work in the Ghanaian tech space without the certification. Money, you haven't been in the Ghanaian space for some time now, but with you being here and moving to the United States, how are things done over there? Do you have any form of regulation or certification that is, let me say, generalized for all tech professionals in the United States? What's happening over there?
over here in the US, I think it's a lot more trust in the school system. And, before college can get accredited to run certain computer science programs, they have to, first of all, show they have good professors, they have good programs, and whoever's going to go through that 4 year program or however long it takes, they're going to come out at a certain standard. And we do have an exam. We have one called the FE exam. It's a more general exam that all engineers get to take. So you could be a computer engineer, a computer science student, or a mechanical, electrical, whatever. It's more of a general exam where it covers, hey, your knowledge in circuits, your knowledge in fundamentals of engineering, your knowledge in math, your knowledge in basic science stuff you're going to need as a 4 year engineering graduate. So we have the FE exam, and there's another version of it for, I think, civil engineers. It's called the PE exam, and it's more advanced than the FE, where before your signature can actually count as an engineer, you need to have that certificate as a licensed FE exam engineer or PE exam. So those kind of exist here, but a lot of companies don't really base their employment based off of that because they know they have the trust in the colleges and they know whichever school you go to after graduating in 4 years, you should have a certain degree of knowledge that means you're capable enough to do whatever job you get hired for. If you wasn't that good, you wouldn't graduate in the first place. So it kind of helps filter out who's good versus who is not good. And jobs just have that little bit of stress taken out of their hands because they don't have to worry about, hey, this person graduated from the school. Do they actually know their job? So that's what we have your FE exam and the PE exam, which is more of an advanced version of the FE exam. So that's the first part of it. That's what we have here. And then just going back to this new law, which could probably get passed in Ghana, I think I have a different opinion than yours, honestly, because just looking at it from the outside, I do think it's a step in the right direction because there's a lot of colleges and schools out there, and all of these have their own computer science programs. And I don't know if there's actually a governing body that, goes in and monitors all of these programs and make sure they're doing it the right way. But I do think it's a prerequisite if you're going to offer computer science or some sort of tech program, you have to make sure you're showing, fundamentals of computing. You have to make sure you're showing general programming languages. Because think about it, these days, JavaScript is one of the biggest programming languages we all use. Python has never had its stocks being this big as before because we have a lot of AI and machine learning use cases. So it's imperative you know how to use Python. It's imperative you know how to use JavaScript if you want to be a web developer. So there's got to be rules and regulations that not only enforce schools teach some of these basic stuff, but also enforce the quality of the programs they have to teach these programs, these courses. So I do think just going back to the initial statement where there's a lot of schools and a lot of these offer these programs, but there's no surefire way to compare, hey, see who is actually meeting the standards and who's producing good graduates. This law, as hard as it might sound and as annoying and it is and as annoying as it might be, it is going to help having that standardized exam where regardless of whatever college you went to, you still have to take it. It's going to help just filter out, hey, not only do you have a degree, but you actually know what it takes to be a person in the computing field. So for me, it's good. Annoyingly, it's just another exam you got to take after getting out of college. But I do think it's going to help filter out the bad ones from the good ones. And it's only going to make the field a little easier because now never has there ever been a time where everyone's going to college to do a computer science or computer engineering major. So we have more people coming in and we have a lot more people coming out as well. So it means there's only going to be a limited amount of jobs and there's a lot of people who are fighting for these jobs. So for a smart person like you and to a lot of our viewers who actually follow this content, it means it's only going to be another hoop which is going to be easier for you to jump over. But then the next guy who's not really passionate about this field and they're trying to get a regular job, they're going to have a lot of struggle with that. So to you, I'd actually say it's a positive.
Yeah, so you asked if there is a regulation in Ghana that regulates the programs that we handle in universities. Yeah, so there is an agency called the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC. And so it's more or less like once there's a program created by a university, they need to go and make sure that the program is accredited. There have been some times where GTEC states that some programs are not accredited by certain universities, but we still see the universities or enrolling students in such programs. The certification test, they haven't actually decided how it's going to be like or what the criteria would be for passing. But what I've noticed is that if you go to the NITA website right now, what we have is that there is a certification that you can take there. But what I've noticed is that the objective for this certification is for those that are working with government institutions. So we are still not sure if this is going to be the certification that we used for the drafted bill that's coming out, or if they are going to use a different certification for that. For the certification, it has different criteria. You have the IT technician, the IT graduate, practitioner, and professional as well. And so with the current government, I recall during their manifesto that was during the election of the year, made a promise where they stated that they were going to have a 1 million codage program. What came to mind was that probably they are doing this because of the 1 million coders program, where once those that are taking part in that program, when they are done, they are able to take that certification, and then it makes them qualified to be able to handle different jobs and applications. So something that a friend suggested, if this is going to be enforced, that means that there's a likelihood that most Ghanaians are going to begin freelancing for companies outside Ghana. Well, that's a bit true, because if the certification is going to be important to most of the tech professionals in the Ghanaian industry, that means that they are just going to apply for roles outside, be it freelancing or be it just getting in-person role outside. But what's your take on that?
You made some pretty good points previously, and I do want to get to those before. This is actually a good question that I'm going to get to as well. So, just going back to the exam, you mentioned there might be different variations based on what people are trying to get into. So, if you're trying to get in as an IT professional, whatever different types we have, it might be different versions of the exam for them. And I kind of like that idea, but my biggest thing might be what's the structure going to be like? Even within just regular software engineering, it's a lot in there. It's a lot of different tech stacks. So the bigger problem might be how do they tailor make it for each specific component where it's like it's nuanced to the point where you're testing what knowledge is important, but also it's not nuanced too much where it cuts some people off. So if you want to test for, say, software development, right? We have full stack developers, we have backend developers, we have cloud engineers, we have all of these within just regular software. So how do you go about getting an exam where it doesn't feel biased towards full stack or backend or front end? It feels just the right amount where the cloud engineer doesn't feel like he's getting done bad. The backend developer doesn't feel like he's getting done bad. So that's going to be a big part of, hey, what's the structure going to be like? How do we make sure we're testing essential programming knowledge that's not too complex enough to cut certain people off, but also not too vague enough where the barrier of entry isn't that hard. So there's going to be a big part and a big thing they're going to have to figure out when they probably or eventually roll it out. And getting on to your next question you just asked about a lot of people might want to, just jump ships and be like, hey, you know what? Screw this. I'm down with it. I'm gonna go somewhere else, try to see if how I can use my skills. That's a good call out, I should say. I think we're in a global market where you could work in Bali, work in Indonesia, work in Japan, regardless of wherever you're based at. And if we're just looking at, you know, comparing apples to apples, Ghana versus the US, a lot of people who want to work freelance jobs from Ghana in the US, they're at a more advantaged position, as in the dollar rate beats the city rate by a lot. So they could get paid, chicken changer, but over there it's going to be a pretty decent amount. So I'd say people might want to do that, and people are more likely to do that. But again, I think it all depends on the cost of labor because we have just looking at it from a global perspective, we have a lot of labor from India in IT. We have a lot of labor from Kenya. It's one thing people in Ghana wanting these opportunities to work as a freelancer for a US company, but also it's another thing because now you're in a global market and they're comparing the cost of your labor to the cost of other people in other places in the world whose labor might be a little cheaper. Say, now I don't know what the currency in Kenya is, but I do know it might be a little cheaper than the Ghanaian city. So if it's going to cost you $2 an hour approximately to pay for your services, whereas a guy in Kenya is like, hey, just give me $1. I'm all good with it. They're obviously going to go with that dude, right? So it could get a little murky in international freelance market because now you're going against who's the fastest going down, who's going to give you the cheapest option possible. And you know what all these companies care about? How do I get the most resources at the cheapest possible rate? So ideally, I don't think any citizen ever wants that, where the best possible case to be financially independent is actually looking outside of where you are, because then you're in an international market and it's a hard battle to win. So realistically, it'd be a way better option if the lawmakers in Ghana made the rules for the people in Ghana. I do think a lot of companies might be open to it. We have a lot of literally if you go on what's it called? A lot of these freelance work sites. there's opportunities there where the average Joe in the US wouldn't take it up for nothing because a lot of these are paying $3 an hour, and over here, it's not gonna cut it. But in other places, it's gonna cut it because I know in Ghana, it's on a monthly plan, you get paid every month. But over here, it's like biweekly or a weekly schedule. So a lot of these companies just gain a lot by getting cheap labor. So we're in an AI market now where whatever labor people could take, they will take it. It's a lot of data out there that needs labeling and all of that. So if there's more labor, best believe people are going to be looking out for that labor at the cheapest price possible. The biggest part about this law that I really don't like is if you want to be a tech startup founder, you need to be licensed as well. Now, I don't know how it is in the medical field because I do know for a lot of people before you can start a lab or a hospital, you need some certificates to show you're actually working in the field. But I'd argue the tech industry is a little bit different where you have actually majority of people who start tech companies, they're not computer science graduates. They don't know how to write code, and they have the human resources as well. So financial and human resources to gather all these two together. So I don't think if I had the money and I want to start a startup for maybe an online trading site, I don't really think I need to be a software engineer to do that. You got to have a capable group around you. And I think that's going to take you more places than, saying, hey, before you could do it, you got to have a license besides just having the money and having people to do it. So I don't know where that's coming from, but yeah, it would be a lot better if they just cut that part off, honestly.
Yeah, well, we are talking about government institutions. So let's wait to see if they listen to the mass out there. Otherwise, I mean, they can just decide to go.
It's a good thing having a license where you can compare people from all over the country. Whoever has a computer science degree, you have to meet a certain standard. So this is going to help enforce that standard. But I also do think it could go either of two ways where it produces better people who know how to do their jobs, but also it could force a lot of people, like Daniel said, to go into the international market. And then it's going to be a dogfight of who is going to be the cheapest labor. It's definitely one to keep an eye out for. And like you just mentioned before, with a lot of government laws, it does take a while to get passed. So we can only see where this goes. And I do know with politics, a lot of stuff changes a lot. Different party might come in and have a different opinion about it. We can only just wait and see where this goes. Read upon it, viewers, if you can. Let us know your thoughts in the chat, and let's keep the conversation going. And then stay tuned for more learning content from Two Techies in the Pod. See y'all later.